Welcome to Burn the Ship, the podcast that helps entrepreneurs go all in on their business, and we introduce them to professionals that can help them to do so. Today, we have a very special guest. Chandler, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Please introduce yourself and the name of your business.
My name is Chandler Creel, and I'm at Atlantico, LLC.
Awesome. We so look forward to learning more about your business. But before that, we want to learn a little bit more about your journey. So we understand that time is one of our most valuable resources. So let's jump into it and tell us a little bit about your story.
All right. I'll start pretty early on because it was pretty formative. So when I was probably 3 or 4, before I went to school, my mom would actually take me to residential construction sites, and we would do walkthroughs.
Okay.
And I remember seeing the studs, plumbing, electrical behind the walls, and I started to understand, this is what goes into a home being constructed. So fast forward a couple years, I actually gave a presentation in my 4th grade classroom on how I wanted to go to Georgia Tech and study architecture. And the majority of my classmates were like, what the hell is architecture?
Yes.
Fast forward to high school, I actually ended up working for a residential home builder in Virginia for several years and just loved it, loved the hard work. Fortunately, I was able to get into Georgia Tech for architecture, started that, and I quickly realized that I was not the most talented student in architecture, but I could outwork everybody.
Yes.
And so I finished with all A's in architecture, but at the same time, I realized if I'm going to continue down this path, I'm going to be sitting in a cubicle, probably drawing toilet partitions for several years, and I really enjoyed being outside and working construction. So I switched to construction. Graduated Georgia Tech with a construction degree in 2008, which was the worst time to graduate with a construction degree.
Yes, that was a tough one.
Yes. Fortunately, I got involved with the campus ministry at Georgia Tech and actually moved to Germany to start a campus ministry at a university in Germany. It was a wonderful experience, but I realized that I'm not a professional extrovert, and it just burned me out. So I moved back home in 2010. Construction industry was still bottom of the barrel, so bounced around, did some very random jobs. I helped an uncle do father and son retreats for the military, which was a very rewarding experience. I worked in a cubicle farm for Wells Fargo. Not a great experience. And the last job, I actually moved to Pennsylvania and worked for a fracking company for a couple months. And that was probably the toughest job I've ever had. Working 14 hours straight, nights, freezing rain, outside with some very rough gentlemen.
Yes.
So that toughened up my skin pretty significantly. Fortunately, at that time, I was able to land a job with a company called CB&I, and they focus on engineering construction for the oil and gas industry. And so I was able to find a job in Trinidad doing a refinery turnaround, another tough job, another 14 hours straight, working 28 days straight, but I loved it.
It was a little bit warmer down there, though, right?
It was very humid, but it was a phenomenal experience. I had an amazing team. I still keep in touch with some of those people 15 years later. And then from Trinidad, moved to West Virginia for a natural gas processing plant. Showed up on the first day of site, had my box of office supplies, 3-hole punch, staplers,
all
the run-of-the-mill stuff.
Yeah.
And the general foreman looked at me and said, you can put your box right over here. Here's a steel grinder.
Oh.
I said, oh.
Okay.
So I worked as basically a field hand for 4 months building tanks in West Virginia.
Building tanks.
Very interesting experience. I worked most of my days in a man lift, 60 feet in the air. Started in the morning, came down for lunch, went back up. And then after West Virginia, I got an opportunity to move to Saudi Arabia and work as a project manager at the steel fab facility in Saudi Arabia. So I was over there for a year and a half. Very interesting experience. Not the nicest place, but got a lot of skills there. Around that time, I started dating my now wife, and I requested a transfer back to Atlanta.
Okay.
And my boss in Saudi said, that would be nice. You can either stay here for another 3 years because I need you, or you can find another company.
Oh, my
I was like,
goodness.
I'll probably find another company.
Yes, yes.
And that's what I did.
Okay.
And then as soon as I told him, he said, congratulations, you got out of here. So it was very amicable. Came back to Atlanta, worked for a company that wasn't a good cultural fit. And then I worked for J.E. Dunn Construction here in town. I was hired for the industrial group. Great company, amazing people. But they just couldn't keep the industrial work. And so I found a job with a company called CRB. And they do engineering, architecture, and construction for the life sciences, so pharmaceutical, biotech, medical device. And it was during that time of working with CRB that I really found my niche. So I was on a project in a room where they manufacture most of the world's absorbable sutures. So if you've ever had surgery, they do stitches internally and they just absorb by the body. So this facility, it can't stop because they're just producing so many sutures. And I was responsible for getting a whole new exhaust system installed in this facility that can't stop running. So it took a lot of coordination. Had a great team. Fortunately, we finished on time, under budget. But during that time, my wife actually had to have surgery internally. And after the surgery was over, the doctor sat me down, walking me through, here's how you take care of your wife. And she said, and we have, there's internal stitches, so you don't have to worry about those. And I mentioned the name. I was like, are they these? And she's like, yeah. How do you know about that? I was like, I'm working on a project where those are manufactured.
Yes.
And so it came full circle where I realized that my work had a very direct impact on my life and other people's lives. And I know there's a lot of negative things about the pharmaceutical industry, but I've been fortunate enough to work on a lot of projects that I know make a difference in the world.
Right.
And I've learned that about myself, that my work has to have meaning for it to keep me motivated.
Right. Right.
So I was with CRB for 6 years. They hit some bumps, and so I ended up leaving and joining a program management firm. And I was there for about a year, and one of the clients asked me to do some things that didn't meet my ethical standards.
Yes.
And so I pushed back hard enough where they requested that I be removed from the project, and the company took that as a sign that I wasn't a good fit for the company.
Right.
So they let me go. At the time, I was devastated. Hindsight, best thing that could have ever happened.
Okay. Okay.
So that's when I started Atlantico.
Okay. Okay.
I was unemployed. But fortunately, I had a family friend that was looking to expand his manufacturing operations from the southeast up to the northeast. And so I started working with him 10 hours a week. And then a previous boss contacted me and asked him if I could help him with his large pharmaceutical project here in Atlanta. And I said yes.
Okay.
And so I'm still working with that client. And I actually helped the first client over the course of a year and a half, connecting him with people. He just purchased a building up in Pennsylvania, and they're starting operations pretty soon.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much
So
for
that's where I am.
sharing that journey. Like I said, it's one of those things that you've had a lot of experiences over time. And I always like to go back to those origins of what you were sharing. So you said that at 3, you were able to walk through, an unfinished home. Was that something where your family, they were in construction, or they knew construction people? How did that come about? Because that had a huge impact on the remainder of your life. Tell us about that.
No, I think my mom is just very curious and doesn't mind trespassing. My dad's actually was a minister, and my mom was a guidance counselor.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But my uncle has been in construction, and my grandfather was actually in construction. So even though I didn't realize it, I've had I'm like a third generation construction guy, and I didn't realize that until well on in life.
Okay, just checking to see how that started. But with you sharing about your father, that makes a lot of sense. When you finished school, you took your time in Germany with those types of missions, as well as when you came back, helping with the vets, fathers of vets, of helping them as well. So it's like you've had a life of service as well. So construction and service, that's what you built on.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's probably why my work has to have meaning.
Yes.
So I kind of get that from my parents.
Yes. Before we jump into the business, I want to ask, that company, you said that you made the decision, it didn't feel for you morally correct. Did they do something after you left that caused problems for them, or was it something in which you avoided it altogether and that was the best thing for you?
As soon as we separated, I was like, all right, we're good.
Okay, just let it go from there.
Just let it go.
Gotcha. Hey, listen, makes sense, because I was thinking that when something like that happens, and you say you dodged a bullet or something like that, meaning as soon as I left, all those violations came down on them, for doing something
Not that I know
crazy.
of.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's not a problem at all. We didn't name them, so it doesn't matter. Now, when you were finished with that, you say you were unemployed for a little bit, but, based off your history, it didn't seem like it would be a problem for you to get another job. You could get on with someone based off of your experience. Was there an event that happened that, made you say, you know what, I'm going to burn the ship and go all in on myself instead of trying to help with someone else?
Yes. And I remember it very clearly. So Atlantico was kind of up and running. I had 2 clients. I had a 40, 50 hours a week worth of work. But I didn't know how long that would last. So I kept interviewing, kept talking with people. And I actually got a job offer to join a fantastic project controls company, global, very good opportunity for a project. I don't know if you're familiar with aerogels. It's almost like a space age insulation thing. But there was a manufacturing facility in South Georgia, and they wanted me to come and kind of be the project's controls manager. And I remember thinking, if I go with this company, it's going to be, the whole package, the life or health insurance, steady job. They're going to take care of me. I've known some of these guys for over a decade, very secure. Or I can bet on myself. And I got to the point where I felt like I just needed to try to do this thing myself. And so I talked with my wife, and she said that she had noticed that I had been calmer, more relaxed, happier, and had been able to spend more time with our son while I was self-employed compared with previous companies.
Yes.
And that kind of made the decision for me.
Hey, listen, that family will help you to make that decision pretty quick.
It will.
So now we are into Atlantico, and I want you to share with us everything that you do and how you're helping these people out here.
So we focus on the life science industry, mainly. And I'm more the construction person who kind of helps with project execution consulting. And then I've been fortunate enough to get enough business where I needed to bring on someone else.
Yeah.
And so I brought on a business partner, and I brought him on as a partner because we had worked together at CRB. I'd known him for over a decade, so it's trust him explicitly.
Yes.
No problem. And so he's the process engineer. And so between our experience, we have essentially the full life cycle of a construction project, design, construction project, in-house. And so right now we are working with a large pharmaceutical company and just helping them be more intentional about their execution. Me on the project management side, and then Squire's my business partner more on the design and equipment startup side.
Okay.
Fortunately, we've got some newer clients that we're helping as well. But I would say at the end of the day, what we do better than anyone that I've experienced so far is we're good at really understanding what the client's needs are, asking a lot of questions to understand the whys behind what they're doing and what they really want. And sometimes they don't know. And so we dig into that, and then we help to identify their vision, their goal, make it more tangible at the end, and then design the process to make sure we meet that.
Okay. Yeah.
In my experience with construction, a lot of times the end date's kind of a goal, not really a plan. And so the construction starts and that end goal is still in mind. We actually flip that. And so we start at the very end. And with a life science project, you have to go through FDA approval, sometimes USDA approval, depending on if it's like livestock, pet, that type of thing. Start from the back end, plan those details, and march our way forward to make sure we can meet that end goal deadline.
Yes.
And then design the processes to ensure that we can make that goal, not just hope for the best.
Just hope for it. So it's customization instead of templates, because a lot of construction has a template. If you look at a neighborhood, you see it's 50 homes and it's only 2 different styles. Seems like for you, what you do is you're focusing on trying to find out what are the needs, what are the wants, and then you're just customizing it and then putting a plan together and executing it. That would be a fair assessment?
Yes,
Now,
absolutely.
When you do these projects, I'm assuming they're all over the country, or is it just here in Georgia? Tell us about it.
We've been extremely lucky to be able to focus just on Atlanta. Right now, there's actually enough life science work around Atlanta right now. And I actually expect that to continue and to grow. And just to give your audience a brief overview of the life science industry, the main historic hotspots have been the Northeast. And then with Raleigh, Durham, having the research triangle, a lot of companies gravitated towards that area, cheaper land cost. I've heard recently that they're starting to run out of space in that area. And so now some foreign companies from Japan, Germany are starting to eye Georgia as kind of the next locations. And there's some existing very large pharmaceutical companies already here. So we know it can work.
Right.
So hopefully we can just continue to attract those businesses to Georgia.
Now, as we are painting the picture, just making it all nice and clear, give us an idea of what an engagement with you is like. Now, I know they're all going to be a little bit different, but just give us an idea of a typical one. I have a life science project, and I'm saying, hey, how you doing today, Chandler? Tell me about it and how that experience goes to completion.
That's a big question.
Yes.
I would say, unfortunately, by the time we get involved, a lot of companies, design firms, construction firms have already, quote unquote, planned the project. And so there's already a schedule. Whether it's realistic or not, probably not. And so far we've been brought in midstream and given, as far as right now, given specific tasks or problems to solve. So one of my first projects was to work as a material expediter for this pharmaceutical company's mechanical contractor, because they had pieces of pipe that were in various stages of design, detailing, fabrication, shipment, delivery, installation. And they needed someone to come in and just kind of get their hands around everything. And I think what they were envisioning was someone that would just go to each location, track everything, push everything. But I'm more of a process-focused solutions guy. So what I did is I came in, talked to everyone, asked, all right, here's your responsibility. What's your frustration? And usually it's upstream.
Yes.
And so I go to the upstream person. It's like, all right, what's your responsibility? What's your frustration? And so what I realized is nobody was on the same page. Like there were 4 or 5 different silos where everyone understood their specific tasks and they would do that task really, really well, but there wasn't a lot of communication upstream, downstream. And so I was able to just get everyone's silo on the same literal spreadsheet and put a Power BI dashboard on top of it. And so at any point in time, anybody could go into this dashboard that was on my website, go to the website, give them the passcode, and they could search for any piece of pipe on the project and know exactly where it was in that process.
Okay.
And so what happened is everything got more and more efficient, because of what I've realized is if you inspect things more regularly, it's more accurate information.
Yeah.
And with more accurate information, people know they're being seen, and so they're a little bit more diligent in making sure things go according to plan.
Right.
But the funny thing is, on that project, I asked, when I was first kind of pulling that spreadsheet together, I was like, all right, what's the step? Who's my contact for getting all the pipe installed?
Mm-hmm.
And the response was like, don't worry about that yet. Just get the pipe here.
Okay.
And then we'll worry about the installation later.
Mm-hmm.
So I got the system set up. It was running. It was kind of self-sustaining.
Yeah.
To the point where I think they gave me 30 hours a week. I was using about 10.
Okay.
And so I went to the guy that hired me, and I was like, hey, I'm basically done with this. I know I'm like 2 months early.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give me another problem?
All right.
And he's like, hell yeah.
Yes.
So I was able to develop, I was asked to do like a manual task.
Okay.
I developed a system and processes that was self-sustaining. I finished in half the time for about half the budget.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, I was able to move on to something else. And I was talking with a friend who's another consultant. And his question was like, why would you, like you were set up for 5 months worth of work
Mm-hmm.
for 30 hours.
All right.
Why did you turn that down? Why did you say, hey, I'm done? And that's when I realized I built a little different than a lot of people, because a lot of people would have just milked that the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I can't do that.
Yes,
I can't just waste people's money. But fortunately, because I stood up and it's like, I'm basically done with this. I don't think you need me for this specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Give me something else.
Mm-hmm.
That rolled into another project and another project. And it's been almost 2 years and I'm still there, rock and rolling.
Makes sense. It seems like with that particular issue, you created a better form of communication, which helped with a different level of accountability, which I think moved up to a higher level of trust amongst everyone, to stop blaming, hey, blame. But when you open up that communication and that accountability set in, seems like you got things on the right path. So, I think that's what I was looking for to see, how is it that you do that, and putting the system and a process in place to open up the communication is what you do to help everyone.
Yes, and there's an Edward Deming quote, who was actually sent to Japan post-World War II to help reinvigorate their manufacturing practices, economy. And he said, a bad system can beat a good person, I think 90% of the time.
Okay.
And I've seen that so much with all the companies everywhere I've worked, where it doesn't matter how talented, how motivated a person is, if you put them in a bad system, it's gonna beat them.
I got you
every time.
I got you. Well, thank you so much for sharing about your business and how you're out here helping. I am confident on this next segment that you're going to have a lot to share when it comes to this. But we've talked a lot about your journey, your business, and I like to always ask about those best practices or business skills that you have acquired and nurtured. Do you mind sharing with the audience a couple of those that you've acquired over time?
The two that really came to mind are, and I don't know if these would quantify as like typical skills, but just being curious. I've realized that I'm pretty good at asking questions. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I'm genuinely curious, and I will ask questions all day about anything, to the point where a lot of times when I'm working with my clients, I'll ask questions like, well, why do you do it that way? Or why did you come up with that specific solution? And a lot of times I get to a point where they sit back and it's like, I don't know. That's a good question. I was like, oh, well, that's great.
That's good. Yeah.
Let's unpack that.
Yeah. Let's figure it out. Yeah.
Let's figure that out. And sometimes it can be very little things. The example that it came to mind at a previous company, I was working with a client, and she mentioned something about y'all's report, y'all's monthly report. I was like, I thought that was for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went and talked with my boss. And I was like, so this client said this was our report. I thought it was their report. And he's like, yeah, me too. So the next time we were on the meeting, I was like, hey, I have a question. Why do we do this report? Like, it takes me like 3 hours a month, which isn't a lot, but it's something.
Still, yeah.
And both my client and my boss like, well, I thought it was for you. I'm like, so if you thought it was for you thought it was for you, can we just kill it?
Yeah, eliminate it.
And they were like, and it's funny how hesitant they were because they had been doing it for like a year.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't know. Can we do that? It's our project, guys. We can do what we want.
Yes.
And they're like, yeah, I think we can kill that report off. I'm
Okay.
like, excellent.
Yes.
That's 3 hours back of my time. So it can be little things. And the other skill I would have developed is process diagramming and development.
Okay.
And this is something that I did not think was special until well into my career, just because I thought that's how everybody's mind works.
Mm-hmm.
But sitting down with a client and understanding their business processes, whether it's business development, accounting, anytime you have a job, you can break it down into processes, work streams. I'm able to sit with clients and understand through the questions and be curious of what their workflow looks like. And I would say 95% of the time, no matter how long they've been doing that job, they don't fully understand that workflow.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the exercises I've done previously is worked with a group of people and put them in 3 different groups. Like, all right, let's make a process for brushing your teeth.
Okay.
And they start with, step 1, step 2, step 3.
Mm-hmm.
And we get done, and they're all different.
Okay.
And they're like, oh, I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny how people's brain doesn't work that way. And I thought that was,
Yeah.
I thought everyone's did.
Yes.
But I'm able to take apart what they do, make it into a process diagram, and then the other thing I've realized is that if you have like standard operating procedures, most companies will have that in a narrative format. Sometimes it might be a PDF that's 3 pages.
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to read a 3-page PDF.
Yeah.
But if you have a simple 7-step process and put that on top, they're like, oh, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I can do those SOPs. No problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Those are 2 good things. Asking the questions is some of the things that help to set me apart when it comes to helping others in all cases. Because if you don't ask questions, you really don't know. You're making assumptions and you're making it yours, not theirs. When you ask all the questions, because as you'll see, I ask a bunch of questions, you get to find out and learn more, and you get some sort of glimpse of what's going on with the person, so you can put yourself in their shoes. Again, if you don't ask the questions and I'm just doing this, then it's me, and you're ultimately not going to like it because it's not yours anyway. So those are great tips to share.
Yeah, the best example I have of that, and that just came to mind, is when I was working with this manufacturing client. I thought the goal was to set up a new facility in the northeast. But talking with him and asking a lot of questions, his main goal was to really be able to kind of step away from the daily operations and spend more time doing nonprofit work.
Okay.
And have a more balanced life and have a more balanced work-home life. So that was really the why. Expanding in the Northeast and expanding his business was just how he was going about that. So once I understood the why,
Yes.
it was able to help tailor my advice to what he actually wanted and needed.
Yeah, that's like I said, it makes a lot of sense because sometimes they don't even know. Talking about the clients, they have an idea, but they don't know what they're trying to get done.
Yeah.
They know an idea of it, but you have to uncover it sometimes. I do a lot of that. With the main business, they say they may want one thing, but after talking with them, you didn't even need whatever you thought you needed. It was something much more simpler that could fulfill that and make sure to take care of it. And I definitely appreciate you sharing that. I definitely appreciate you sharing about your journey, in business, your business.
You're
Those
welcome.
skills are very, very, very good ones in which the audience can add to their mix. But now I want to talk a little bit about you specifically.
Okay.
So let's move that business out of the way. Let's say it's continuing to come on. Man, you got so much work. You got to hire a whole team of people. And time and money is not an issue for you at all. What is it that Chandler would do with his time?
I would probably a lot of different things. I would travel. I really enjoy traveling. I would want to actually keep working. I really enjoy working with my clients and spending time to really understand their problem, really understanding the why, and then helping generate a solution. So I'd want to keep doing that. I really like just making things, like just randomly.
Woodwork, handyman type stuff?
I would get into anything.
Okay.
I did the whole bread making thing during COVID. 2 weeks ago, I tried making pickles for the first time because why not?
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to make kitchen knives, different things. The other thing that I would love to be able to do eventually, and I don't even know if it has a term, but I would love to buy a piece of land in my neighborhood. So I'm in Grant Park. I would love to be able to buy a piece of land, build a smaller, nice, like apartment complex, like maybe 8 units, courtyard, nice.
Yeah.
And then find people that are unhoused and just offer them housing.
Okay.
No
Just come on.
no stipulations, just
Yeah.
like, hey, you need a safe place. Here you go.
Okay.
But the difference, one of the things I've read about, seen about, is the NIMBYism, or the not in my backyard. But it seems like that's the wrong mindset. I feel like the mindset should be, these people need help. We as a community can surround them and help them get back on their feet again.
Okay.
I wish it was more about, this is an opportunity for us to be the compassionate people we say we are, instead of no, that's on them. So doing like a housing development like that, where, I feel like there's so many resources around Atlanta,
Right.
helping with resumes, connecting people, finding people jobs. I just feel like a lot of people just need that opportunity to get where they want to be.
That's an amazing feather in your cap. I just opened
We'll
it
see.
up where I say you can have all the money, all the time in the world, and you still have a heart of service. That needs to go back to how you're going to treat people when it comes to business, for sure, because you've told me a bunch of moral things that you stayed away from because it didn't meet your ethics. So that should go to the people to understand when they decide to work with you. That's always at the core of things.
That is true. Our business and even our business plan is built on trust and honesty. And sometimes being honest means telling people what they don't want to hear.
Yeah.
In a respectful way.
Yeah.
But it is funny how many people I come across where they just have people around them. And I'm there like, are you sure about that?
I got questions. I
Yeah.
got questions. Now, if the people here watching the show today have questions about your business, your journey, some of the things that you shared today, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Probably just go to atlanticollc.com. It's a pretty simple website. We're actually doing a revamp right now.
Okay.
But there's a form on there for more information, and my phone number's on there if you need it.
Okay. Awesome. We appreciate you coming on today and sharing with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes,
It's been a pleasure.
Yes. But now, Now, we're not done yet. You know, I was just letting you know because the information you shared has been awesome. It's one of those things where I can tell you being here, a very caring person, and it matters to you. And we always honor our guests by giving you guys the last word. So before we go, if you can, please look into the camera and tell the people something good.
All right. The quote that came to mind is from Socrates: "The unexamined life is not worth living." As I've lived longer, worked longer, what I've realized is how important it is for me to understand myself. And any advice I would give, young and old, is just to spend as much time as you can really understanding who you are, what your desires are, what your values are. And one of the best ways to go about that is to get outside your comfort zone, whether that's travel or getting involved in something that you're uncomfortable with. But what I've seen in my life is as I've focused more on trying to become the person I want to be, everything else is a little bit easier and starts to make sense and is clear.
Okay, awesome. Know thyself is what he's saying. Pay attention to it. Thanks again for coming on the show, Joe. It's been a pleasure. It's been a real pleasure.
Really enjoyed it.
Excellent, excellent. And to everyone that is watching, be kind and thanks.